first of two semi-finals in the Hero Junior World Cup. The first features France against Malaysia, coming to you from the Major Dhyan Chand National Stadium in New Delhi, India. It's a fixture for which these two teams might not have fancied themselves, even themselves, right at the start of the tournament. They've surprised many, but nobody can say that they have not deserved it. Good fighting performances, lots of support as well, and that has made it really fascinating to watch these two teams in action. Good entertaining teams, scored a lot of goals, and do look to play attractive hockey, so it should make for an exciting spectacle this beautiful afternoon in Delhi. Out they walk, the two teams, France in white, and up against them in yellow are the only Asian teams, in fact the only non-European team left in contention for this FIH Hero Hockey Junior World Cup. Will be a fascinating contest, both teams showing some great resolve to get through their quarterfinal clashes. And before we can get through the 70 minutes and possibly also the shootout, we'll have the first course of action, the national anthems of the two teams, beginning with the ones for the Les Bleus.
L'étendard sanglant élevé, entendez-vous dans nos campagnes mugir ces féroces soldats qui viennent jusque dans nos bois, égorger nos fils et nos compagnes. Aux armes, citoyens, formez vos bataillons, marchons.
Thus far in this competition, 3-2 against New Zealand, 2-1 against South Africa, 4-2 against England in their pool stages, and then a pretty convincing 2-1 victory over Korea, which was a lot more one-sided than what the scoreline suggests. And for France, an incredible fight back. They were 4-2 down against Belgium with 23 minutes to go in their quarterfinal yesterday before they began quite a stunning fight back, scoring 3 goals inside 20 minutes and booking their place in this match. Watch out for their players in particular. Hugo Geneste, who's already had 2 goals in this competition. Jean-Laurent Kife, who really started that fight back, starts on the bench, number 6. And they've also got an outstanding goalkeeper in Edgar Renaud, who will make things quite difficult for the opposition. They're coached by this man, Gail Pollard, knows a lot of his team members, having been an assistant with the national senior team, where a lot of these boys are members of the senior full team. For the Malaysians, lots and lots of heroes for them right through this tournament. Their goalkeeper, Azfizuddin Othman, has been brilliant right from the start. Sharil Sabah got 2 goals, both goals against Korea yesterday, and 3 goals also for Farhan Ashari, number 10, who's been quite outstanding, as has the captain Fitri Sari, number 7. They're coached by Mohammad Dhanraj, who was evidently emotional after the match yesterday in the post-match interview with Charlie Broom. And I just wonder how the team will be feeling after yesterday's win. Well, they'll be up for a cap. Greenfield certainly is, from New Zealand, and he is being joined at the other end by the familiar figure of Marcelo Cependo. Bruce Bale of England is the video umpire for this all-important clash. Lucky boys, as they are being called. They'll get things moving in this first half. In yellow, they'll be going from left to right. And the other ones who push us back up against them in white are France. And Devansen in the commentary box, and alongside me is former GBR High Performance Director David Faulkner. David, looking forward to what should be an exciting clash in terms of the contrasting styles.
Yeah, the contrasting styles, and I think you made a very valid point. Maybe this game wasn't on their radar at the start of the tournament. I think in Malaysia, just to pick out in terms of the tournament so far, Fiaz, number 30, has been outstanding for Malaysia throughout every game, influential all around the field. Their captain, Fitri Sari, again, who had an outstanding game yesterday, I think will be the pick of the bunch. Then again, in France, what you had, really taught Belgium a lesson in counter-attack hockey and putting their corners away. And for me, the real standout, Simon Martin Brazak, has been outstanding in the midfield. And just keep an eye on Pontier up front. And Edgar Renaud in goal has actually been a real standout for me. So they're the players to look forward for today.
Also two of the most exciting set of fans. There was a lot of banter yesterday between the French fans and the Belgian fans. The French would go Allez les Bleus, and then the Belgians would reply Allez les Rouges. So it was the Reds versus the Blues. This time the Yellows moving forward in good numbers, but Renaud getting his foot across and getting some defensive support from Peter Stutes.
I think also today what you'll look at with these two sides is how much yesterday took out with them, not just physically but emotionally as well. I think Malaysia's performance against Korea was well orchestrated, structured, and really dominated the Korean team from minute one. Whereas the French 4-2 down with 23 minutes to go and take that game 5-4 and showed some great resolute defending, but also, and again I think we'll see today, some fantastic counter-attack hockey.
At the moment, just coming off the stick of FIH Helmi, who's all over the pitch, as they mentioned. That's to involve himself in the attack. Sharel has also been amazing, number 15. And FIH Helmi, quite appropriately, perhaps twice as many in his jersey number 30. Sharel Sabah was incidentally the top scorer in the Johor Cup recently, which we keep referring to because that is one of the premier tournaments for the under-21 teams. On that occasion, they finished second behind India, but India have not really made it through to this stage. What an opportunity for both these teams to make a maiden appearance in the final of the Junior World Cup.
I think to just comment on the fantastic team of France, it was not long ago, 4 to 6 years ago, that France struggled to stay in the A division of Europe.
Oh, this has been done in the first goal. It's beautifully orchestrated. That was a fantastic pass again from that man, FIH Helmi. And the last touch comes in from Azri Hassan. Malaysia are ahead early in the game.
Azri Hassan got in front of the defender here, so the ball went out right, took early, and another early cross as we've seen this tournament, and just got in front of the two French defenders, who I think will be disappointed because you've really got to be in line or just ahead of that, and he just deflected that really well. There was no chance for the keeper there.
The French defense just goes to sleep for a second, and that's all it takes for FIH Helmi to unlock it. Beautifully converted as well, and now it's everything to do for the French, as the Malaysians can feel it already inside the 4th minute, the first goal. Perhaps the best thing to happen in a big stakes match like this will open up the game.
Well, I think it's a bit early to write the French off yet after yesterday's performance.
And that's been a feature right through this Hero Junior World Cup. That was the 168th goal, incidentally, in the 34th match. But so many of them have come in the last 15 minutes, last 10 minutes, last 12 minutes, as the Indians discovered against Korea. So never easy or never right to consider a game over. This move, though, is over. The free hit going France's way, but he'll be forced to go back and take it. A point you made yesterday as well, David, about the officials just being a little more strict as the stakes have gotten higher. And just like they did yesterday, the French fans looking to get behind their team. This is a useful ball. It was meant for Victor Lockwood. Just couldn't get across to it. There they are. Lots of friends and family of the players too.
I'll be a bit disappointed with the start, but we'll see how this game now settles after an early goal.
Once again, France looking to move forward. This is their first constructive attack. They have got a free hit just outside. Some good hustling by Peter van Straten. Oh, this is sent in, and it wasn't too far away. There were a couple of players. Lockwood was in there, and just behind him another striker.
Yeah, when this ball goes really in early, I don't think the French forwards were really low enough and really committing to the ball. You've seen in this tournament players diving on their noses into the far post. I don't think they're really committed there.
It's more of a reactionary attempt from Geneste, but by then the ball and the chance had passed. Nevertheless, a good frenetic pace about these first 11 minutes or so. 6 minutes actually. Feels like it's been a lot more. And here comes Geneste once again. Just at the edge. Martin Brissac.
His first, Martin Brissac's first touch on the baseline wasn't great there, so he reduced the options he had for passing.
Not surprisingly, having conceded that early goal, a lot more urgency about proceedings now from the French, pushing more men forward. And all of the Malaysian players pretty much within their 25-yard area.
I think the French will be disappointed with that. After having all that pressure, they give away possession with a really unnecessary, unforced error.
Sweeping pass came in from Peter Spoots, and he was looking for a run down the right from Poperoy. Just wasn't forthcoming. Now this is Fez. Fine-sized player, really easily the shortest on the pitch today. But he's had a giant-sized contribution right through this tournament.
I think for me, Fires is standout for me, irrespective of the positions he takes up, is just his decision-making on the ball. When to carry, when to hold, when to pass the ball on. He's been very, very impressive in all those areas.
The Fires passed the ball on to him, and it was an outstanding finish.
So here, this is the goal again. A great cross from Fires and a lovely deflection, and the two French defenders were left napping really because he came in between the two of them for the deflection.
That's a good redemption. There was a little off-colour in yesterday's match against Korea. Was Azri made a couple of errors in defence, which did cost his team at the time when they happened. This is being picked up, but just hitting his foot. Kiefer unable to keep it under his possession. Scored a couple of goals yesterday, good opportunistic goals, which David did underscore that when they got their chances against Belgium, put them away. They've got to try and repeat that in these early moments against Malaysia. Coming forward again. Nicely worked by Geneste, getting this ball in. Oh, critical stick in there from Karthik.
Yeah, Karthik really got that in early actually, because if he hadn't, I think the shot would have been away. So you see the cross now, went in early here. Well, the umpire, actually, to be fair, the umpire had blown the foot anyway, but he still made the commitment to the tackle anyway.
Lively last 3 or 4 minutes from the French. And this was to be a good contest. Began their goal scoring yesterday. In fact, the first of all 9 goals was scored by him off a penalty corner. That will be one route which France perhaps have a slight edge over their opponents today. Both have now effectively scored exactly the same number of goals, 12 goals in this competition, but the French defense has been a little bit more profligate. Just as many conceded, 12 goals, compared to just 6 from Malaysia.
And for me, that's most probably the big difference in the Malaysian team is their ability to defend. I think we've all known over the years that their ability to score goals, not just in open play but corners, but I think they've been one of the best sides here defensively. and that's obviously reflected in the figures.
It's just got a glimpse of two of the deep defenders who've done an outstanding job. Hakimi as well as Karthik. Hakimi in particular was brilliant against Korea. This is Karthik. As always, being quite strong and muscular on the ball, but does concede a free hit in the process.
I think Karthik didn't look at actually the umpire that far corner in, because it wasn't this umpire, the disengaged umpire's decision.
So sent in by Jenestay. To be fair, we haven't had too many stoppages, but also the officials have allowed the game to flow. They've not been too trigger happy with the cards, which is always good until something really serious occurs. Malaysian defense under a little bit of pressure the last few minutes. They've just let themselves down on a few occasions with these ball scraps and failed attempts. Seen a bit of that over the last couple of days, haven't we, David? This turf perhaps just beginning to act up a little with so many matches played on.
Yeah, there's been it was similar to the World Cup 3 years ago when this pitch was first laid. There's a nap on the pitch, so when the ball goes out to the far side, there's the free hit here. Kurtik's got his green card. But there's a nap going away from the main stadium, and as the ball flies quickly, it does deflect.
Can France take advantage here? Well, the shot was on, and it did come in from Koizu.
But the good teams know it and have actually made sure they've been able to manage it. Here's the quick opportunity here. And Cassini didn't really get hold of the ball. The ball was quite close to his feet when he tried to hit the ball.
The Malaysian defence missing the burly figure of Karthik, just temporarily. But it will put them under pressure. Will allow France to perhaps commit an extra man, which they might not otherwise have.
And since the goal, France have had good opportunities in the play here and taken the majority of the time on the ball.
Get another chance to put some pressure. A long ball which was slapped in by Baumgarten. Leaving nothing away at the moment, Dhanraj. This is their first appearance in the semi-finals after 31 years. They did finish fourth back in 1985, but they didn't make the semi-finals, which would suggest that it was played on a league basis, and the top two played for the final spots. It's already been a historic achievement for this team, but they will want to keep going. At the moment, holding all the aces in terms of the scoreline, but France making a good fist of this. Jean-Laurent Kiffet.
As you can hear the umpire giving some instructions of why he gave that decision.
Oh, that's beautifully done by Fitri Sari. His older brother Faisal Sari has already earned his stripes with the national team, and this 20-year-old has also looked really impressive. A star for the future for sure. Falling back this time to defend the Malaysians. This comes in, takes a couple of deflections. Could have been dangerous in the end. The last touch coming off Van Straten, and he does win a hit in for his team. A long corner rather.
Hakimi also did very well then, just to get his stick in as well.
Yes, they certainly do know how to counter-attack. They showed that in ample measure yesterday against Belgium. That's something that the Malaysians would have studied well. Will need to be on their toes when the French come forward. Yet again, that's an excellent stop by the goal scorer himself, Azri.
And we're just starting to see, we're also seeing the quality defending that Malaysia have really thrown out through this tournament.
There's an attempt from Zulhari to play the ball into the possession of his teammates, but there was nobody forward. Martin Brisac wins possession for his team. A very, very dangerous presence. Man of the match yesterday, incidentally. Orchestrates most of the positive moves. This time a touch coming on, but doesn't bother any of his teammates. Peter van Straten, one of the identical twins that play for France. They have Niels van Straten, who's the number 2, and exactly twice as many for his brother Peter.
Malaysia looking to get quick restarts away as well every time, and then trying to counter with France. But France working very hard in defence, but also Malaysia, I think, are pretty wary. And I think why you're seeing the Malaysians playing a little bit deeper is after watching the game against Belgium yesterday, with the French so dominant in the counter-attacking area. I think they'll be fully aware of that today.
Once again, picked up in midfield by that man, Simon Martin Brisac. Look at him go. Good individual skills. Will need some support though. Was trying to find Peter van Straten. Still possession with the French though. Been a good bright 10 minutes or so from them. And what they would like is a goal before the half-time interval comes around. Oh, sent in, and Hafizuddin just about saving the day with his defenders. Very interesting battle of patience and wit going on. The French coming forward with lots and lots of attacks. Malaysia holding their shape defensively.
Yeah, but I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable for Malaysia at the moment. France just have a lot of the ball, and I'm pretty certain some chances will come their way with the amount of dominance they're having at the moment.
Yes, for how long? Well, this fell very favorably. He's almost controlled it and eventually gets the shot going. Martin Brisac, and not happy with himself because he just couldn't get the right angle there.
So the hit was in really hard, cross goal. Got the first touch, he picked it up really well, and then decided himself to have a go, and I think just hit the goalkeeper on the post.
A chance for Malaysia to build on something of their own, but unable to make the most of it. Yes, beyond the point, the defense can only soak up so much pressure. You get the impression that something positive might happen for France. Definitely started dominating, and in fact, look at those numbers. 77% possession in opposition half, and almost all of it would have happened over the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, and that's why I feel a little bit uncomfortable for Malaysia at the moment. Whilst we know what they can do and how quality defending, given that kind of possession away, for me, will always lead to more opportunities and generating chances for the team with the high possession.
Another free hit for France, not too far away from the Malaysian goal. All of their men now up in attack, barring the goalkeeper, Frenot. Long ball which was deflected. The idea was right from the captain, Deron.
I think Fullard, even though he'd be disappointed with the first goal that Malaysia scored, I think he'd be delighted how France have responded.
The movement down the right, coming from the other Van Straten twin. Well, there's it. There's the ample reward for their constant hard work, getting forward and finding a Malaysian infringement just at the edge and just inside, in fact. So this is a chance now for the likes of Victor Charlet to come into play.
Yeah, he took this ball really well, lifted it through, and actually lifted off. I think Malaysia were initially looking, saying that was too high, but it actually deflected off the first defender's stick anyway. But this doesn't surprise me with the volume of possession that they've had in the last 10 minutes.
They have had penalty corner conversions coming in. Victor Charlet has got one. Peter van Straten is also a danger of these, and Hugo Geneste has also scored a few. Their most experienced player, Geneste, looks like the one who's poised on the top of the box, closer to us. They're also known for some clever variations, with players just moving across right at the last instant, often also looking for the last man moving on towards the post. This is Van Straten, Peter van Straten, distinguishable from his twin with his shorter hair. He'll be making the stop. Samson sends this one in. Geneste off the post. But in any case, wasn't the best executed penalty corner ever.
No, but I think the hit, Nazali may have taken that off his stick onto the post. If we look now, wasn't a great corner line out here. He hit the ball. I think he may have just got a stick onto the post.
So living dangerously at the moment, the Malaysian goal, but this is their chance to move forward through their captain, Fitri Sari. Playing on, it's a beautiful run. Just couldn't get through though. France would absolutely have been kicking themselves had they conceded a second there. Completely dominating the play.
I think Malaysia were a little bit frustrated when he went around the back. He deflected up high, but the umpire felt that wasn't dangerous.
Yes, some close chances at both ends in the last few minutes. The game certainly opening up. Here's a chance for France. Well, a diving, scrambling bit of defending. Effective in the end from Hakimi, but doesn't impress Gareth Greenfield too much.
Yeah, and he's interpreted that whilst he got the tackle in, there was an opportunity for the French forward to take the ball. So if you would just watch now, he carries the ball down to the baseline. He gets a really good tackle in, but actually I would have left that because if you look how close Nazali was in there, he could have closed that down. It'll be an interesting question.
You got us? Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. Malaysia claiming there was a penalty came down on the body out here. Can you just check that for us?
Yeah, checking to see if the ball make contact with the French body outside the circle.
Okay, so Malaysia have gone back to a previous incident, but not really questioning the umpire's decision to knock the ball off the baseline. So here, as the ball comes through here, I think this is Van Straten, is it, who takes it? And what they're claiming there is they're claiming that hit a foot. Now from that angle, it certainly hit his arm.
Can you hear me? I have a decision for you. It has hit the arm. Defensive free hit. Malaysia keeps their referral.
Thank you.
Well spotted by Malaysia. Coming off the arm of Victor Lockwood, and that's exactly what Gareth Greenfield indicates.
Now that's quite good, because sometimes we've seen teams just rush and take. We saw it with Belgium today, where they wasted a referral straight away. A play came running in because they thought they saw an incident, whereas most probably the Malaysians did have a discussion, and that's a great call for them.
Yes, here they come moving forward. Xiaomei moves, always a constant threat when moving forward. Delightful sequence of passes which set him up for this run.
I actually think France were calling for a stick block, but actually, to be fair, the stick they hit was nowhere near the ball.
So the scoreline still favouring Malaysia, but if you've just tuned in, then that's not an accurate reflection of how this first half has gone. It's been actually a pretty good performance from the French, barring a soft goal that they conceded. as early as the 4th minute. Beautiful opportunistic strike by Azri Hassan from a fine pass which was provided by one man who's impressed right through Faiz. This is the goal scorer Azri down the right. But since then, France have created a few half chances for themselves, been denied by some good defending and also some good goalkeeping by Hafizuddin Othman on a few occasions. And just a while ago could have had a penalty corner, but successful referral by the Malaysians overturning that decision.
I think Malaysia need to get into the game. And what I mean by that is, if we look at the midfield play so far in here, we've not seen them on the ball enough after the first 5 minutes. It seems they're just starting to get a bit more possession back.
It's just breaking up the momentum which France had behind their back, leading up to that penalty corner attempt. This was swung in. They've already scored one goal through an own goal. That was against South Africa. How crucial that could have proved out to be. And it's a green card for Martin Brissac.
I think mostly because the umpires had enough of him questioning all his decisions.
And even the smallest time of suspension does turn out to be quite pivotal in a few occasions, as we have seen on a number of occasions in this Hero Junior World Cup. Now here come France though, in spite of that man disadvantage. Lockwood weaving his way through. Azri Hassan is down. He's had a knock to the head.
Yeah, you want a minute? All right, there's no blood, there's nothing. It's all right. Stay relaxed.
I think just as he went through, he dived, and then I think he got caught with the stick just dragging through. I don't think it was deliberate. It's just the momentum. I think it may have been Kiefer who came through.
Nevertheless, possession still is with France. Confirmation of the green card given to Simon Martin Brissac. Once again, possession for France, just at the edge. Geneste looking to move forward. He's done very well to get past a couple of men, but just couldn't get the PC that he was probably looking for.
Yeah, and good for Malaysia, because it just wasn't one chasing the man. They always covered with two. Because a lot of sides have been caught out with the 1v1 and the space behind that defender once they've gone through.
And they finish on the perfect note this first half. If France can get one goal in, and with this being a knockout match, it will really set us up for an exciting second 35 minutes. We haven't seen a shootout as yet. And who's to say, maybe Renault and Hafizuddin might be the goalkeepers to prove to be a hero for their respective sides today. Of course, only one of them can be. And such is the cruel nature of sport. A lot of their attacks have come through that right flank of theirs. Courtois has been at the forefront of a lot of those moves.
Once again, Malaysia are defending very deep, and France taking a high proportion of the possession at the moment.
And this is why they are so dangerous. Once they get the ball, they are capable of moving forward in good numbers. This time, though, it was nipped in the bud. Hafiz was the man moving ahead. Geneste once again. Oh, this has fallen very nicely. How did he miss out on that? That could so easily have been one goal apiece.
Yeah, it was. And Kiefer, I just wonder when he went there, he just snatched at it. You know, when in front of goal, stay relaxed, and he just twisted across his body. So here, and do you see how that changed? When actually he should have attacked the ball straight forward. And see the frustration of his fellow teammates on the bench.
Yes, unfortunately just ended up playing what could be called a topspin forehand. And uncharacteristic because Kiefe has been one of the standouts. Quick little meeting for the Malaysians. One of those teams which have looked like they've... Oh, this has hit Kiefe.
Yeah, if you listen to the umpire, it wasn't intentional. Kiefer had gone in from the other side.
It's hit the lower portion of his arm and at full swing.
Yeah, into his arm, maybe into his chest.
Just a word of caution to Karthik Govindasamy.
It's always a close call when you come in on the side to try and win the ball, because you are trusting the player on the ball to stay calm or not swing through if they're early enough. And obviously Kurtek decided that whatever was going to happen, I'm going to hit this, and Kiefer took the ball.
Well, just one goal in this match thus far. A fine finish and a great pass from Faiz.
Yeah, an outstanding finish. But, you know, after that, we haven't seen much more from Malaysia at the moment, and that maybe is more concerning for Mohamed Ahmed Raj, the coach, because I think he would, certainly if we've seen the games played so far, there's been a lot more chances that Malaysia have created.
Just a little over 7 minutes left for the break. One suspects they will welcome that just to reassess where they're going, but this is looking promising, but just far too much to do for Rashid Bahroom all by himself. Ends up conceding possession to the French.
That's a bit of a trend we're seeing in the game, is just one-off balls being either aerial or hit through, and it's really isolated up front, the forwards.
Once again, some positive movement from Martin Brissac.
There's another miss hit, but this time it didn't hit a body.
Rashid was looking for the run of Xiamin, but quite easily intercepted by the French. Playing with a lot of confidence, considering they are a goal down, but possibly stemming from the fact that they have dominated large parts of this first half. Coming forward once again, as has been the trend, especially since that early conceding of a goal. Reverse take attempt, flies over a few bodies harmlessly, so no problems for Malaysia.
I think the secret for France at the moment is just to stay patient. They must be pretty pleased how they're playing at the moment. It's just how they create some of those chances they had. You know, Kiefer's chance just now was a prime example. Just got to keep their patience.
3 times as much possession.
Yeah, that's 75%, and look at the circle entries, 3 times as much as well. So you've got 3 times the possession, 3 times in terms of circle entries, but only 2 shots to show for all that possession.
Tells you also about the competent nature of this Malaysian defence, as has been mentioned by David on a few occasions. This time there's another French player who's down just by the side.
I didn't really see what happened to him.
Martin Brissac. Well, the Belgians will definitely remind the Malaysians that don't count the French out. Don't count the supporters out either. This was hit in with a lot of power, and the follow-up sails over from Martin Brissac.
It was a great pickup. If they picked that ball up that quickly, because you had the free hit in here, and Brissac picked it up first time on the it was like a volley, but just couldn't keep it down.
They've definitely had their chances and half chances. Haven't been able to convert yet, but it does promise a few goals for the French before the evening is through.
I think we've got another follow through with a hit. I don't think it was anything deliberate.
And again, it is Martin
So if
Brissac.
you see here, Fires hits through, but again, you know, that's an interesting call because I don't see that as deliberate. Martin Brissac had gone in really close on the wrong side. Fires just hit through the ball. His stick wasn't high. It was just on the follow through. So you know, if you are going to go in and tackle that side of it, you may get hurt.
This time a hard slap coming in from Karthik. Not very convincingly dealt with to begin with, but eventually the French defense does enough. Red hot semi-final this. Lots of chatter also going on. The umpires doing a good job of controlling proceedings. Oh, this was a crucial intervention. A very, very good one. And very coolly
again.
done.
He's tidied up quite nicely today. A lot of the things in the attack. Sometimes his play goes unnoticed, but he's a very tidy defender.
This time they're moving forward. Farhan Asheri. 3 goals already in the Euro Junior World Cup. What a stupendous effort from him. And the goalkeeper, Renaud, comes out and just does enough to upset Rashid Bahram.
Lovely bit of skill. Good through ball. I think the way he was covering, he thought he'd actually got the ball, but he turned him back along the baseline and got that stick in just in time.
Really got a skillful forward line. And what's also noticeable is very unselfish players. Don't go for glory, always aware of where the others are. Sign of a good team. And also sign of good team spirit. Here comes Geneste. It's a good ball. This has hit Karthik as he was falling over, and that'll lead to another penalty corner opportunity for the French to exploit. Can they pull one back before this first half is through?
Yeah, Van Trassen was speaking to the umpire there and saying that was a deliberate intention to go into ground, but to be fair, I think he was trying to get to the ball there and just stretched out. The ball had already gone anyway, so you know, it deflected into him, and I think what he was saying is using his hand or as well. Well, that's a tough call because it happened so quickly. But this corner's really deserved by France. You know, just the way they are just holding on to this game. Malaysia are having the odd attack, yes they are, but the dominance of the play is in the French in the French possession, as we've seen with the statistics.
At the top of the circle, there is Hugo Geneste. He's joined at his side by Victor Lockwood. Which of them will eventually go for the stroke? Here comes Lockwood, comes off the post, a follow-up, still a follow-up. And another penalty corner in the end, but the Malaysians look like they want to ref for this.
Just listen to the question.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, just having a look on that post there, whether it was the Malaysian stick rather than his foot.
Okay, checking to see if it was a stick and not a foot.
Well, I think what most probably the umpire thought was it hit the post and came out on the foot. Let's just see from this replay. So from the flick, hit the post. Yes, the second shot is the call, and what the Malaysians are saying is it was his stick. And that may be another very good call from Malaysia.
Hi, Gareth, I have a decision for you.
Yep.
The long corner was played by the stick. Malaysia keep their referral.
Okay, thanks, mate.
Successfully done again. What a riveting first half performance this has been from both teams. And the Malaysian decision making, not just in their outfield play, but also their referrals, has been 100%.
Malaysia have been very fortunate. That's two's hit the post now, and you know, and in terms of France's dominance, you know, Malaysia mustn't just rely on the luck.
Even this clearance falls only as far as Fenai. This time around, it's Fez who does very well to get the ball away.
5v3 as well.
Excellent opportunity. Rashid Bahrom moving forward. Well denied by Victor Chalet.
That's good defending by Chalet, because they had pulled the one side and there were two the other side that they could have released the ball to.
Reassuring presence, just as much as Karthik is at the other end. Victor Chalet has been outstanding right through the Zero Junior World Cup for France. It's well worked by Lockwood.
And well defended from Malaysia as well.
Perhaps just missed that precision with the finishing, but otherwise this has really been a tremendous lion-hearted effort from both teams at the end of the first 35 as we approach that. Malaysia definitely being outplayed on a few occasions, but they've held their own in defense. As we mentioned before, though, for how long they really do need that second goal, or at least a little bit more possession to try and put some pressure on France. Fitri Sari does very well to hold his own.
That's really good play from Fitri Sari, because he saw, as his, I think it was Mohamed Yunus, had moved across and to pick them off. But you know, interestingly, I think for this game, maybe what we're looking at is France taking advice around what they did to Belgium, because the one thing that Malaysia could have up their sleeve is the counter-attack. And every time they've broken, they've got a bit of pace in their midfield and forwards, they will create an opportunity. So whilst France should be putting more on the end of all this possession, just be aware of Malaysia's counter-attack ability.
Coming to the last 20 seconds. These two teams playing for the right to play in the final on Sunday, where they face either one of the former champions, Germany, or indeed the runners-up from 2009, Netherlands. This is beautifully done. Oh, just not the legs to get across to it. Again, that dangerous breakaway that they try.
Yeah, and you see another example, and I actually think Malaysia are looking for this. They've mostly watched France on the video, and they know that they may be vulnerable to the counter, as France have did to Belgium in the previous game.
Yes, and carrying on from their terrific entertainment in the first 35 minutes. Only one goal to show for it, but chances galore, particularly for France. Martin Brissac with perhaps the best opportunity to put their team back on level terms after concession of a very early goal, just in the 4th minute. It was Azri Hassan who converted from a fine pass from that talismanic midfielder, Fez bin Helmi. But otherwise, it has been quite an even contest, with the French fans looking forward to some more action from their team in the second 35 minutes and to carry on with the momentum they showed in the first half. And after the first 35 minutes, this is the scoreline at New Delhi. It's France 0, Malaysia 1. Lots of action in and around the goal mouth for both teams in the first 35 minutes of this first semi-final at the Hero Junior World Cup. And the scoreline, not an accurate reflection because France have perhaps had the better of chances, but as of now, Malaysia leading by an Azri Hassan goal, which came as early as the 4th minute. Outstanding start for Malaysia. Long ball played out to Fez. And just for that split second, Azri able to penetrate through the defense, which perhaps hadn't woken up just as yet. And that's been the Malaysian strategy for most of this Hero Junior World Cup. A lot of long balls which have caused a lot of heartbreak to the defenses. This time around, it was a long ball from the French. And Hafizuddin Othman was nearly beaten. A couple of players coming along. Hugo Geneste closest to it. This time it was Martin Brissac. Did very well to retain possession of the ball and eventually just couldn't control it well enough and got himself into an angle which was nearly impossible to try and exploit. Malaysia have been lucky on a couple of occasions. This was one such. Hugo Geneste with the shot which came straight off the post. And Geneste, the number 7, has been involved in a lot of action yet again. A great opportunity. Kiefer uncharacteristically missing out when perhaps scoring would have been easier. But the numbers much in favor of France. 70% possession in opposition half and 11 circle penetrations to 4. Just a quick reminder, you can connect with us on social media. We are on Facebook at FI Hockey and at Twitter at FIH_hockey. Make sure you send your comments with the hashtag HJWC. We know a lot of you in Malaysia are following this Hero Junior World Cup. And you'll be quite pleased with how your team has been performing. Right, just talking about Super Saturday tomorrow. A few placement matches. Egypt against Canada to avoid the wooden spoon, really. Then England versus Spain. Who would have thought that these two quality teams would be playing for 13th and 14th spot? But that's how competitive this field has been. Then it's South Africa against Argentina, followed by the big one at 8 p.m. If you're in Delhi, make sure you come down to the Major Dhyan Chand National Stadium because irrespective of the context, an India-Pakistan encounter is always a big one. Right, today, for 5th and 8th spot, one of the crossover matches, Belgium have already beaten Korea, so they await the winner of Australia-New Zealand, which is coming up after the semi-final. And then there's the big one, the repeat of the final from 4 years ago, Germany against Netherlands, to earn the right to play the winner from this particular match that we're witnessing between France and Malaysia, to earn the right to be called the champions of the Hero Junior World Cup. Well, 1988 Seoul Olympic gold winner for GBR, David Faulkner, still alongside me in the commentary box. And David, lots to look forward to in the second half. And as was suggested by the first half, this looks like it will be a very, very close finish.
It would, I think it'd be a close finish, but I think I don't think many would have predicted how dominant France have been in the first half. They've just been a team that's grown through the tournament. I know England played them just before the tournament started in the last game, and England beat them 3-0. And look what's happened to the two teams, you know. And but that's, you know, there's practice games and there's tournament hockey. I think France need to remain patient. They must be, you know, pretty pleased. Fullard must be pretty pleased how they've played today. Yes, of course, the rest of the tournament, but they've got to take more of their opportunities. With Malaysia, it's clear that they're very strong defensively. They may rely on this half and they're counter-attacking, but they know what's ahead of them. They know France won't step back.
Dave, you've been involved with the sport at the highest levels, both as player and then as administrator. Tell us how closely, I'm sure, the Junior World Cup results are being watched by the national associations of every country.
Yeah, they are. I think there's different approaches. Malaysia obviously have their Project 2017 and look at it as very much a team approach. I think a lot of the top nations see it as a pipeline to senior international hockey. So here they'll be observing those players who they think can go on to the next level. And it's how you invest in those players, because however we like it, goes as narrow as a pyramid, and so higher they get up, the less players they're looking at. And certainly for me, what they would be looking for is how they're playing in a tournament environment, game in, game out, physically, technically, and actually more importantly, mentally.
Yes, and from that context, these two nations have really done well in this Hero Junior World Cup. But it all boils down to this. These next 35 minutes will decide the fate in terms of their continued participation for a medal position, so to speak, in this Hero Junior World Cup. If they do lose from here, then it will just be a place, or rather a fight for third place against the team which loses the second semi-final. Malaysia still hold that 1-goal advantage, but France finished better. And let's see if they can continue from where they left off. In white, it's France who push things back. And they're going from left to right. And on your screens, defending on the right, as we see from our position as well, Malaysia are in yellow. Perhaps as a neutral, perhaps the best result would be for France to get an early goal here, because that will force perhaps Malaysia to come out a little bit more. They have defended well thus far, and not in a lot of matches have they found themselves trailing. Actually, it was only against South Africa where they conceded an early goal and then got one back inside the next 15 minutes. This will be a good test of their character. Thus far, they've had things pretty much their own way in this Hero Junior World Cup. They are leading, of course, at the moment, but been under the pressure.
I think just like to see Malaysia step up the field a little bit more, because I think that's one of the reasons they played so deep for so long. They gave up so much of the possession of the ball to France.
Down the left, this has been picked up by Azwan Hassan. Fitri wins possession for his team. Malaysia looking to begin well. Easy enough take for the French defence.
Fitri was looking to try and get that in early into the D, and he deliberately put the ball back over the 23 to do that.
Baumgarten looking to send a long ball ahead for Lockwood. Just for a while, the Malaysian defence not quite sure about how to deal with that ball. Hakimi, quite distinctive with his coloured hair. Sent in, got a deflection too, but not goalwards, luckily for Malaysia. This was Van Straten.
Yeah, Van Straten got his stick on it, but it just deflected off the field. And again, another example of quickly any opportunity to get that reverse stick low cross in, they will take.
Malaysia will not be too bothered about what's going on in terms of the possession and the numbers, as long as they have this advantage. But as we have reiterated a few times, and as we've seen right through this Hero Junior World Cup, it is a fleeting thing, that goal advantage. A lot of teams have discovered that, much to their chagrin. The Baras getting ready for their big match later tonight against New Zealand. Not much at stake in terms of the final positions, but there's always a little bit of pride and that France-Tasman rivalry.
Yeah, the local derby, I would call it.
Australia, New Zealand today, India, Pakistan tomorrow. Unfortunately, not quite for the gold, but these two teams are still in with a shout. And here's France in with a shout. A good run coming in. Geneste yet again, just at the top of the D. The shot comes in, takes a deflection, goes out for a long corner.
Fayaz put in a fantastic tackle just at the end of that run. And also, whose stick did it deflect off? The shot?
Oh, yet again called in to defend, and he does it quite effectively. A raised ball too.
And that's been a trend we've seen. Here's the hit, was outside the D, but Fayaz was the one who had his stick low. And again, it's interesting that the umpires, since the playoff games have started, a lot of umpires are not allowing the quick restarts, or certainly within the distance of the free hit that was taken. So they're either making them take it again, or actually blowing against, which is just done just now.
Malaysia right through have looked dangerous on the counter-offensive. Both teams with that strength up their sleeve. Late in the first half, a couple of opportunities for the Malaysians to break away, but just couldn't capitalize on it. You made the point early on, didn't you, David, about how much yesterday's games might have taken out of the two of them, but it must be said it has been played at a good pace. Both have given it their all, and not surprising because there is a place in the final at stake.
Yeah, I think so, and I think for these two sides, I think it was such a relief to get through the quarter-final games. And that's a big yellow card for Malaysia, losing Fayaz for 5 minutes.
Peter van Straten going down to ground as a result of just a touch tap coming in from behind. Just losing out on their linchpin from midfield will be a bit of a botheration.
And France must not waste this opportunity. It's one thing Malaysia being down for 10 men, but Malaysia being down with 10 men without FIH on the pitch is really, really important for them to capitalise on.
Just a quick clarification, sometimes you might see some names on our straps which are a little different from what we call them, because the Malaysians do tend to have some long names. In his case, Helmi being part of his family name, Jali is his father's name. Yes, his shirt, his jersey does say Faiz Helmi, so we do refer to him by that. Now France moving forward, looking to capitalize on that man advantage. Almost a missed and failed trap. Malaysia must be careful in defense, don't want any errors to creep in. They've already given a couple of shots in terms of penalty corners to the French. Europeans haven't yet been able to oblige.
I think the other point from playing the game, from what you're talking about, how they approach this, the other one will be the physical. 2 games in 2 days. Both teams have played during the day, unlike the other semi-final, crossover quarter-finals been late in the evening. So we'll see how that really plays out for both teams.
Yes, thus far both the mind and the body are willing. There's still a while to go, 28 minutes, more than that left on the clock. And physical endurance will be a factor. This is a free hit for France. Would be said in balance that they've started the second half in much the same way, dominating possession, looking to keep the pressure on their opponents. Long ball which was picked up quite nicely by Fourcroy.
Hassan there got a really good tackle in early. Maybe just got his hand caught.
It's one thing you do associate with this Malaysian team is a lot of bravery from their players. Fitri Sari pretty much the main man now. That Faiz is still outside. I would imagine still got a minute or 2 left on his suspension. This is a chance to put some pressure on the French for a change. Long ball, switching flanks down to the right. Here's another one of their impressive performance. Sharil, but he loses out. Just gets some support though from Azri. Helpful turnover.
Malaysia had left 4 back anyway. I think being aware from the counter-attacking that French was so strong yesterday with Belgium.
And moving forward in numbers, but Malaysia are pulling back. That's a great attempt to keep it back in play. Picked up here by Geneste. Now can he turn? He does. Eventually, Fitri Sari unable to stop him, and eventually wins a free hit for his team in a good position.
Umpire clearly saying that the ball was inside.
Charlet quickly releasing the ball and allows the pass to come in.
I think it's another wasted opportunity from France there again. You know, that's about 2 or 3 they've had this half, where either they deflected off the baseline, so here, but not or not trapped like here.
Yes, Lockwood has a habit of finding himself in good positions, but not much point if you cannot do much with it. He had some support, just needed to trap it well. Nicely worked once again. Geneste, not the first to it, picked up instead by Deron, the captain. Stick check, which will earn Malaysia a bit of a reprieve. They'll be counting down to the time that Faiz can come back.
Hakimi then, I don't know if you noticed, picked off another ball. That's 2 or 3 this game he's had so far that he's really done well. You know, I know Malaysia have done well as a team and everybody points out Faiz, but Hakimi for me has been another player that I'll use this term, player's player. Just all his work just goes unnoticed.
Faiz is back on the pitch, and that's a good time for him to do that because Malaysia are on the move ahead.
Malaysia have done well. Now down to 10 men for that 5 minutes without him, and they've survived it.
Now Hakimi has moved into an attacking position as well. Right up there, away from us on the top corner. This one was dangerous, but now can France pull back?
I think the umpire deemed that the ball was going away from goal, so in his eyes wasn't dangerous.
This was a difficult one to take, and eventually no damage done. Azri Hassan does well enough. Gael Pollard, what will he be thinking? The second half began brightly for France, but Malaysia in recent times just breaking down a few of their moves and now coming up with one of their own.
I don't think Pollard can be. I don't think he can be really complaining about how France are playing. I think it's really what's happening in the last third of the field. That's where the conversion's got to be. Where the change has got to be. So all the good work they do up to the first 2/3, they've just got to convert it in the last third.
Conversely, France have done a lot of running in this game compared to the Malaysians, and that could just prove to be a critical point moving in towards the closing stages. So France really need that one goal back as quickly as possible. So of course, Malaysia to come out and play a little bit more in terms of trying to attack and open their defense up a little more.
And that will just frustrate Pollard, you know, with that loose pass there just off the side of the pitch.
Is Farhan.
Farhan looked tired then, didn't he? Just the ball loose off his stick, but he just looked tired.
And you made the point in the last game, didn't you, David, about how Korea haven't really used that player rotation as effectively. And what's been noticeable in this game is that Malaysia have done that a lot more, perhaps a little bit more than France.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't looked at that closely enough, but they are the only Asian side who have adapted, recognising that the importance of keeping the energy levels high, the nature of the modern game. That may be a little bit of influence in terms of their new head coach and the senior team, but all credit to them. They've applied that, and you can see that in terms of the energy. And in those tight games they've had so far, pool games and crossover games, you can see the energy levels in the group.
Malaysia once again just getting into the box. Unable to sustain the pressure long enough, though Sharil has been quite quiet this evening. Did get those 2 goals against Korea, both goals including one penalty corner conversion. Now, this time inside the box. Oh, critical tackle, and well done too by Victor Sharil once again.
This is better for Malaysia. Just starting to see them creep up the field. There's a great backhand into the D. Just didn't quite get his stick across and it hit his foot. But this would be a little bit more encouraging for Malaysia on an offensive side. You know, I think defensively they've been outstanding. But I think they can't, this last 20 minutes, rely just solely on that, because the way the statistics have gone, something will happen and the post may not be there to save them.
That was the story of the first half. It was France, post, with just no goals as yet. Of course, the all-important goal came in the 4th minute for Malaysia. Will that be enough to carry them through to their first appearance in the Junior World Cup final?
And you may be just seeing a little bit of signs of frustration within France, where, you know, they're feeling that they've played so well and they've not got their due reward. But hey, that's international sport for you, and they've just got to keep their patience and make sure that when they do have the opportunity, they take it.
And that's where the maturity, the mental reserves will be tested. Peter van Straten on to Kiefer.
That's a good tackle from Kurtek, you know, and he may not be the most mobile, but you've got to give credit where credit's due. You know, he's been in the thick of it most of this tournament, and when needed, he's been there.
It's interesting, now he's playing a little further up the pitch. with Hakimi having an outstanding game. Will be a card flashed here. For this tackle.
Yeah, so he put his boot through on his forehand and just barged his shoulder across.
Can ill afford errors like this when they're trailing by 1 goal and finding the going just a little difficult. Malaysia, in the last few minutes, fighting back in terms of controlling the pace of the game a bit more.
Oh, it's just I think he was just penalised for stick blocking then on his reverse stick.
He's virtually everywhere and just a tireless magician, conjuring up the most impossible of passes. Remember the assist for the goal, the only goal thus far today.
France just, I think, have lost a little bit of their momentum in their play, and that might be because Malaysia have been a little bit more intent in going forward.
Yet again, possession will be with the Malaysians. Not a lot of shots forward, defending in good numbers, as David did mention. They're keeping 3 or 4 men always in their back line to just prevent the French from breaking away quickly. And some good destructive play in midfield from Fitri Sari.
Baumgarten put in a hell of a tackle in there. And that maybe we're just starting to see that signs of the commitments and levels that they're putting in a semi-final game.
Is the Malaysian skipper once again, Sari. Oh, that's an outstanding ball to get it out from all the pressure that he was experiencing. Zulhari, he's found it through for Farhan Ashari, but a good decision from Brenner to come out, closing the angle down very quickly.
So play, I think they recognised, I think what happened is that Baumgarten, remember the tackle I just mentioned just now, he went through. I think the umpire saw that that was body first, and I think they may have recognised he quickly got him off for substitutions, but quite wisely the umpire picked it and has put him on the bench for a yellow card. Remember, there's the tackle, and then, you know. So he remembered. These umpires can remember.
Yes, they've been really good today. Messrs. Servetto and Greenfield have kept good control over proceedings in what has at times been a slightly scrappy encounter. Nothing malicious, of course, but you would expect the kind of perseverance and commitment being shown by these two teams to make their place in the final of the Hero Junior World Cup. There's the confirmation of the yellow card for Baumgarten. They were down to 9 men, but only for a little while now. Petit Stodes has come back. This could well be Malaysia's opportunity to just put a little bit of pressure back, at the moment defending. If they can find a second goal here, that will really turn the screws on the French. But as the Belgians discovered, don't count them out at any stage in a match. Here's Lockwood.
But again, Kurtek, lovely tackle on the reverse stick to slow the French forward up.
And hanging on, they still have that goal advantage, so that is just that little cushion that even if they do concede, they'll have an opportunity of coming back into it. Played in, looking for a foot. Nicely done. Faiz getting some support from Hakimi, and yet again the two of them do it very, very beautifully. Long-haired figure was of Niels van Straten. The numbers just getting back a little bit in Malaysia's favour. It was 75 at one stage.
Yeah, and I think that's reflecting, pulling it back. Still, France's circle penetration is over double what Malaysia were, and that's the bit. It's the conversion of those penetrations into chances and shots.
Tells you that an entertaining match isn't always about shots, always about lots of chances.
Yeah, well, and it's still 3-1, and Malaysia's one shot is one goal.
Talk about making it count. This time moving forward. The French not happy about the fact that they reckon the Malaysian forward going forward was just using his body.
A lot of body language and shouting from the French bench at the moment. I think Foulard and Sauvier, the manager, are getting heavily involved in it, and most probably playing out every pass and every shot and every tackle.
They've come here with the management which more or less works with the senior side, and they have a number of players who have also been a part of the national team. In fact, only 8 out of the 18 here are uncapped in terms of the senior full side. It's definitely an eye not only on the future but on the present of French hockey. Here's Martin Brissac, one of those players who has played for the full team.
And what I think the team you're seeing here, 2011 European Cup, France had an appalling European Cup, and they decided then to invest in the youth, and I think you're just starting to see the signs of that now.
This is a useful ball through, but just a little bit behind him as Xiaomin was looking to work himself into a position of strength. Pass came in from Sharil, who's had to play a little bit of a supporting role today. Nicely received by Mior, also known as Azwan Hassan. Here's Fitri, sizing up his options. Working it all the way back, looking for a deflection. Wasn't too far away actually from Xiaomin.
I think Charlet just got a touch on that with his stick.
Well, this time Xiaomin has gone in quite hard, and there could be a card in it for him.
I think the umpire warned from the first half, and for me that is slightly different to the other 2 instances here, and yeah, that's a penalised. The umpires did warn the players, but this time I don't think this is tackling from behind. I think that was totally unnecessary, and quite rightly get penalised here, and then through and throw through him. He's quite fortunate not to be more seriously injured actually, and most probably have sympathy with the reaction he's just had.
There's a confirmation. Xiaomin Mohammad Yusuf, who was just beginning to bother the defense, and Charlet in particular, has just given him a bit of a breather in terms of giving him attentions.
So Malaysia just put a bit more pressure on themselves now, down to 10 men for this 5 minutes. But good decision from the umpires, because I didn't feel the first 2 were actually that deliberate. Yeah, you know, the French defenders were coming in on the wrong side and putting themselves in danger. With that one, that was intent.
They've got to put all of that behind them and put their concentrations into defending, because France have come on the move yet again. But excellent tackle once again from that man, Hakimi. And he releases the man on the right. He's moving forward quite usefully.
He felt he'd left the ball behind, but it was a good example of what pace Malaysia do have when going forward. And I think that you know, Ferhan Ashari is a good example of what Malaysia has with a threat on a breakaway.
There's a French breakaway coming at the other end. They're on. The skipper moving forward wins a penalty corner for his team.
I think they'd be disappointed with that, because the French player who was driving into the middle into a crowded area, and Malaysia had a flat stick in front. I can't remember who it was, but we'll have a look on the replay. So as he comes inside, as you can see here, there's a flat stick right in front of him. There was no need. Is it Fitri who came in and made that tackle? There was no need to make that tackle.
This most likely that was Samsul Hazik. And it's just given France this opportunity. On a couple of occasions, they've already hit the post. Can they make the most of this chance now? Anxious moments all around, including for Gail Foulard. Here comes Geneste, but Hafizuddin Othman does well.
Yeah, that looked quite comfortable for Hafizuddin. The ball was high, but there wasn't a lot of pace on it. If you look here, he comes in, it comes onto that line. Even though the goalkeeper was quite well to the right of the post, but then most probably given the angle for the postman.
Well, this time a deflection. It's still very much alive. And a raised stick, which wins a free hit.
I'd like to have seen that again, because I think that whoever the Malaysian defender was, that was a fantastic take.
This time a deflection, but straight onto the goalkeeper. Hafizuddin does well. The last touch coming off Martin Brissac. Red hot match going on here. Still the danger not completely cleared. Lots of long shots coming in, and this time eventually the pressure will be off them.
Good goalkeeping as well. He stayed upright with that as well. So the ball comes in here, and then he's up, you know, a lot of goal. We saw early in the earlier game, I think it was the Korean goalkeeper who dropped to his foot. That was an easy corner to take, but he stayed upright and kept that barrier in front of the French attacker.
Some really good goalkeeping right through this Hero Junior World Cup, and he's definitely been a standout. Now the Malaysians coming forward. Fitri Sari going down, was looking for a decision in his favor, but nothing coming. Nevertheless, they still have possession. Long corner coming for them, and will be another one. It's coming close towards that twilight with 10 minutes still left, separating Malaysia from a maiden appearance in the Junior Hockey World Cup final. Came close in 1979, came close in 1982, also came close in 1985. This could be a historic moment not long away from here. France desperately in need of the kind of inspiration they got last evening against Belgium, trailing 4-2. With 22 minutes, 23 minutes on the clock, and that's when they found 3 goals in a most spectacular fashion right towards the end.
Interesting how France approach the last 10 minutes, and they'll obviously keep an eye on whether they bring on a kicking back or not. It'll be interesting how they approach this.
Remember, Malaysia still are a man down. Siamem is just serving out the last couple of minutes, I would think, of his 5-minute suspension. In that time, France began brightly, but the last couple of minutes, again, it's been some good pressure from Malaysia and getting the ball away and forcing the Frenchmen away from their own side of the pitch. That's a long ball and a valiant effort from Martin Brissac. One of the heroes of that terrific fight back against Belgium yesterday. Now here's a chance. He's done well to control it. Lockwood was looking for support, but Hakimi yet again.
Yeah, and there's another example. Whilst it was a really good play, and I think it was Duran who went in, it was a bit untidy again, where they can make far more of that ball. Likewise, Malaysia must, once they win the ball, must keep it.
Pokwa. On to Geneste. Been one of the hardest working players on the pitch today.
Yeah, he stood out for me, actually. He's got on the ball a lot attackingly. He's done some great work defensively as well.
That's sent in, and it's the equalizer. France have their reward, and it's that top goal poacher, Kiefer, once again.
Set up as a free hit outside the 23. Back it came, hit hard in, and Kiefer just got that lovely deflection, and that'll make up for the miss he had in the first half. Really good deflection. And for the first time, Malaysia did not stay with their men.
A lot of joy all around for Gael Fola and for Kiefer, who, it must be said, must be one of the toppers in geometry in school, because that was an amazing angle that he exploited. 63rd minute strike, now brings this right back as a match. And could we be headed for the first shootout at the Hero Junior World Cup 2013? France moving forward again. This could just be the tonic that they needed. We were talking about the fact that they needed that little bit of inspiration, and that's what was provided by that last minute flick on, and they were looking for that again. Hakimi again getting his stick in the way.
Yeah, Hakimi did well there, but I just see a little bit of tension in the Malaysian team now.
So much of performing in these big matches also down to the temperament, and having been there before, these young boys have done well over the last couple of years. They were the Asian champions at this level, the Junior Asia Cup in 2012 in Malacca, where they beat India in the semi-final, Pakistan in the final. Looks like the shootout specialist is warming up. Corentin Saunier.
I don't think France will stop their style of play here. They'll keep having a go.
This has been sent in once again. Oh, nicely done. Malaysian defense compact as always. Now it's been picked up by Fez.
That's a good tackle. Very, very good tackle.
All the way back to Foucault. Simon Martin Brissac sending this one in, but no danger at all. Some instructions, last minute instructions from Sonia. Looks like he is being prepared as plan B. Oh, the French again looking for those deflections, and Kiefer again getting himself at the end of it, but was just outside the box in any case. You're getting into that stage, last 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes to go, 1 goal apiece.
If you're a betting man, you'd be pointing towards France at the moment.
What a time to concede a yellow card.
That's poor discipline. After been, that's the 3rd time this half they've been down to yellow cards, and that may be a real time in turning the tide, really.
They'll have to defend with all their might. Oh, Hafizuddin just gets across to it. Lockwood was the man with the touch. He has played a blinder in goal as well, Hafizuddin, but it could all come to naught. Once again, France moving forward with a lot of intent. Geneste again creating some pressure for the Malaysian defense.
Hakimi again, really good bit of defending. So here it is, he just deflects up. Didn't really get pace on the ball. The ball wasn't hit flat and hard. It was a bit bobbly, and most probably that reflected in the deflection as well.
How important could this be? The yellow card for Rashid Bahrom, which means he will not be there till the end of play here. Was into the 66th minute when it happened. Here goes Martin Brissac. Can France find a last-minute hero at this stage? Once again with possession in a dangerous position for the Malaysians. Baumgarten. Back with the ball. Turns, shoots, just over.
Just put under enough pressure before he got the ball away that maybe even forced him to lift it.
Lots and lots of anxious faces all around, it must be mentioned. Does look like both teams are mentally, in a sense, preparing now for the shootout.
And most probably going into the quarterfinals, they would have done that work anyway.
Malaysia will be the first ones to change their goalkeeper. Hazrul Sabri is going to come on for Hafizuddin Othman, which is an interesting decision. And it's an interesting decision because Hafizuddin did stop a penalty stroke in one of the pool matches against South Africa, but obviously they reckon that Hazrul is the specialist shot stopper. Big call.
Well, what it does tell you is that Malaysia will like just to play this out rather than having a go scoring the other end.
So are we headed to the lottery of a shootout? Well, not if France can put it beyond doubt here. Moving forward with some purpose. This has been nicely received. Siamim, he's got a man inside in Farhan Ashari. Got to try and release the ball for him.
Only if that ball, you pointed the man that had broken through for him. If you've only seen him in a video, and if I was Malaysia, I'd go to the video referral now as well. And they're just discussing what's the question.
If it works for your attack, it'll be fine, yeah? Come on.
Quite rightly sending the French player away.
Hang on, I can hear you.
I think you did more fouls. No?
The other umpire can't stop talking at the moment. Yeah, good signal.
Okay, Gareth, I can hear you.
Yeah, so we're just looking for a stick tackle in the circle here. So the Malaysians are asking for a penalty corner.
Okay, looking for a stick tackle on the Malaysian player in the circle.
Yeah, here.
So here we are. This was the breakaway, which we said he should have passed across because he had a man in there. The French player got the ball back. And I'm not sure I've seen a stick tackle in there, but when he goes past into the second man, I think that's a difficult call.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Which way will it roll?
The only thing I was looking for is whether it hit a foot or not.
Bruce Vail is the man in the hot seat. Could be a huge moment because Malaysia haven't had a short corner as yet in this match.
And they quite rightly should take their time with 1:30 on the clock in a semi-final game. They should take the time to make sure they've got the decision right.
Suppose it's outside 25 where the ball was. Oh, it was here then there.
Lots and lots of anxiety. Let's take another look if we can.
Gareth, can you hear me?
There you go ahead, mate.
There is no clear reason to change the decision. Malaysia lose their referral.
Okay, and what are we starting with?
Bowling. Where
Fully,
Ball was.
midfield. Yeah.
Decision is the fully.
Yeah, and I think that's the correct decision. There was nothing there that could really turn the video umpire either way in terms of decision. But actually, if I was Malaysia, I would have gone for the call anyway. This tight in the game with such short time left on the clock.
It's absolutely that ball turning from green to red doesn't matter too much in terms of just 90 seconds to go now. Hazrul with all that equipment, which could well be called into action soon in the lottery of a shootout, as we mentioned it before. Just coming forward once again. Can Malaysia have this last sting in the tail? Farhan Ashari was inside the box, but couldn't quite collect it, thanks to some close attentions from the French defense. Looking for the man on the left. Faiz was the player who was hoping to receive that ball, but very well intercepted. And now here's Martin Brissac.
Already, just since the 1 minute, since the very referral, we've had 3 turnovers from each team.
Pulses would be quickening. The hearts will be racing because we are conceivably headed towards the shootout. Almost certainly would have been, because that came off Xiamim's foot. Was in a very good position.
Great ball from Hakimi. Really great ball.
So many heroes on either side. It will be a shame that this
France need to get this in the D as quickly as they can. I'm not sure that was the right decision.
Tells you a bit about what they're thinking.
Yeah.
The last shot coming in, looking for that long shot, but it comes off the stick of the Malaysian. So it is to a shootout that we are headed. What an incredible match it has been as well. The first semi-final of the Hero Junior World Cup is going to go to a shootout. Malaysia got that early lead, the 4th minute, a fine opportunistic strike from Azri Hassan. But then France really got back into the match in a big way, created chances, hit the post on a couple of occasions, just couldn't finish it off in the first half. But late in the second half, 63rd minute, an outstanding deflection from Jean-Laurent Kiffé, notching up his 4th goal of this Hero Junior World Cup. And what a critical goal that might turn out to be. Could be his most important yet in this campaign. But it still means both teams are in with a shout, and the 2 goalkeepers, the substitute Hazrul Sobri and Edgar Renault, will be the likely heroes for today, because after 70 minutes, it's France 1, Malaysia 1. So France and Malaysia playing out a very, very entertaining semi-final thus far. And the fans are just as tense as we are, because it's a huge moment, isn't it, for both teams. On the cusp of history, making the Junior World Cup final for the very first time. After 70 minutes, 1-1, you think the accurate reflection of what happened, or maybe France will believe they should have nicked this by now?
Yeah, I think there was a huge relief when France scored, and most probably they'll be quite disappointed, especially if they look back on the statistics of the game and the opportunities they had. Now, obviously, you know, before going to the quarterfinals or even before the tournament, they would have prepared for this. It's obvious that they've got their identified goalkeepers for the shootout as well. And they knew at any time in a knockout game this could happen, and we knew that was going to happen. Just surprisingly, it's only just happened now in this Junior World Cup.
Yes, this is, of course, for the right to book that first berth in the final, which will be played on Sunday at 8 p.m. local time. That's a long way away from the thoughts of both teams right now, going over their last-minute strategies in terms of the men that they need to be taking these shots. And it will make for a very, very interesting final finish to this match, which has already been quite a humdinger. France might just look back and miss out on those opportunities, those close opportunities that they had to finish this game off. It must be said, Malaysia hung on grimly, had some good defending going right through the 70 minutes. And now young Hazrul Sobri could well be the man who could win it for his team. Saunier at the other end. And it's now going to be a shootout for France and Malaysia in the first semi-final. David Faulkner still alongside me in the commentary box. David, tell me, what is the key in this situation? A, from the striker's perspective, and B, from the goalkeeper.
Well, I've always felt you can do what was penalty strokes and now shootout in practice. But I would have thought both coaches would have just double-checked that those who've been identified still want to do it. You know, they may have picked up an injury, they may be a little bit low in confidence, haven't played well. So you always have those discussions around that. So I would have thought they would have just double-checked they were happy with that. They've obviously made the key decisions around the goalkeepers. And they will all have their style and way of doing it. They're very clear that for them it's a decision, it's a 1v1 decision, new to international hockey over the last few years. And so it's similar to the stresses and strains of penalty strokes. All we're seeing here is that it's played out over a longer period of 8 seconds, and so that decision's got to be made by the individual. I think also the other thing will be this will be the first time for the technical officials for testing their system as well as how to manage it.
Interesting approaches from both teams. Malaysia go into a huddle the last minute just to G up from everybody, and the Frenchmen troop out to the middle, and they're looking quite relaxed at the moment as well. But I can assure you that whoever goes for those shots will have their heart pumping at least twice the normal speed. Is it an advantage necessarily to be shooting first?
I've always felt it's always been to set the tone in a competition like this, to go first. Always then puts you in the front, on the front foot. Now it's based on a toss of a coin, but if you've got the opportunity, I would take that.
So the 5 Malaysian shooters are out in the middle. Fitri Sari and Faiz Helmi are not surprisingly in amongst them. And the French penalty takers are also just congregating on the far side. They've got Hugo Geneste, they've got their number 10 Victor Lockwood. Not surprisingly, a lot of the regular suspects who would normally take the penalty strokes in regular play as well as the penalty corners. Jarel Saba is also in there. And it will be France who will be shooting first. Hazrul is taking his position.
It'll be interesting how the players approach this. I've seen some where they come in straight hit, the others they go an angle and to either side of the goalkeeper. So it'll be interesting when we see this.
Peter Van Straten is the first man. In he comes. Oh, he's just hit it wide. For a moment it seemed like he was the favorite to it. Hazrul was on the floor, but he recovered well and kept it going.
Yes, he carried it. He did go one way, then the other. You see the goalkeeper had slipped and got up, but he recovered. But then Van Straten slipped, so actually it neutralised each other. And as a point, they've gone first. Tone is not set. Here we go with Malaysia. They've sent up Faiz first.
Not surprising at all, because it is Faiz. Faiz does well. This will be the first goal. Surely, yes it is.
And doesn't that sum up how he's played this tournament? Calm, collective under pressure, made a clear decision how he's going to play it, committed the goalkeeper one side, and he literally rolled the ball in. So he attempted the hit, he pulled the goalkeeper onto the deck there and just rolled the ball in.
So it's 0-1 France. They've got to try and convert this one. It's Martin Brissac. Just making sure that he gets into the perfect position. Hazrul comes out early. He shot this one in, just giving France a bit of a lifeline.
And Martin Brissac, very clear, went one way but transferred the ball very quickly to the right. So you see he moves to the left, transit very quickly, and then pace on the ball straight in. I find this quite fascinating, how individuals make up how they're going to actually approach the 1v1.
For Malaysia, it's their number 12, Siame Mohammad Yusuf. Had a couple of chances to put the game out in regulation time. Now gets his chance in the shootout. The goalkeeper's done well, the goalkeeper's done well, and he's done very well. Excellent work from Saunier.
And I think this time he just went too close to the keeper, and as soon as you give him that opportunity here, he just went too close. Whereas previously we've seen Faiz and Brissac, they've done it with a good yard and a half difference, and Sonia really did that very well. And actually he's very quick on his feet, so you watch as he drops, he gets back up very quickly again.
The leap right at the end was an interesting one as well. Now it's the number 11, Baumgarten. Made up his mind quite early, and he's done well. He's kept his composure in spite of the challenge coming in from Hazrul Sobri, and he puts France ahead for the first time.
So he decided to go right first, pirouette around the ball. The goalkeeper had a swipe, and then clearly finished the ball. So we've seen all different styles here already.
So 2-1 ahead now, France. That means Farhan Ashari must score to try and keep the pressure on France. 3 goals already in this competition, but this is a different kettle of fish. Oh, the save has been made. Saunier, excellent yet again.
Saunier comes out to about the penalty stroke spot and then waits for the player to make a decision either way, and then closes very, very quickly down. I think Farhan most probably didn't. If he'd gone one way, I think if he pulled it back the other, he may have had opportunity. He just didn't do it quick enough.
If Victor Lockwood scores here, then Malaysia will need to convert their next chance. Otherwise, France will be through to the final of the Hero Junior World Cup. Hazrul yet again comes out early. Victor Lockwood, bag of tricks. Smashing it wide though.
And a very interesting decision for Lockwood, because I don't think really the ball was there to be hit as a position. He got it so close to his body that he didn't get the angle round, and actually, to be credit, the goalkeeper had put enough pressure on and was in presence of it. As I say, fascinating.
Still pretty much anybody's game. Here's Sharil. Farhan Ashari missed out, but Sharil will want to keep his composure, pull his team back into it. This one for 2-2. He's done well, and he's hit it wide though. Almost did everything right, but Saunier was a constant presence around him, and eventually he has squirted this one wide. It stays 2-1.
He looked so relaxed as he came through, very casual. Went to the left this time. He pulled the goalkeeper, but that's the bit he was casual on. He should have stayed lower over the ball, and even he could have rolled that in.
So if France score here, then there's no turning back for Malaysia. And the man who's been the most impressive performer of today, Hugo Geneste, looking to put France into the final of the Hero Junior World Cup. Taking his time, taking his shot, and they're through. What a performance. Cool, composed, and excellent from Hugo Geneste. France are through to the final, and it's shattered dreams for Malaysia.
And most probably fell to the man who, for me, for France, had been the most impressive. He got through so much work, and then with the final decision of the day, what he had to make was stay calm on the ball, which he did, and everybody saw him ponder on the ball initially, but he put it away so well. And most probably a fair reflection for me on France's domination of the match.
Yes, something which David Faulkner and Cedric D'Souza have mentioned on a few occasions. It's all about decision-making at this level, and the decision-making from the Frenchman was just a little bit better today, especially in this penalty shootout. Great pictures of joy. France have gone through. France are through to the finals of the Hero Junior World Cup for the very first time in their hockey history. What a moment for the Frenchman.
And what a...
What a moment here.
Yeah, well, what a moment for French hockey, because, you know, over the last 4 or 5 years in the doldrums in Europe, their senior teams not performed well. Their junior teams over the last couple of years have really stepped up. And this would be a huge, huge benefit to French hockey all around. Their system, how they've been playing, and really no one would have penciled them in really for Sunday's final. But all credit to them, they've applied themselves. We saw them against Belgium yesterday, and today I think they were fair winners.
Acknowledging the applause just like they did yesterday, and their fans have been so sporting. They've made the way across. In fact, every fan went across just behind the goal where all the action took place, and just making sure that they give them a fair reflection of how they feel. And there's the slide coming in. There'll be a few burnt skins, but they won't mind too much about what happens here because they are playing in the final. That's such a huge result for Gail Pollard and his men. Really has been an outstanding performance. And the man who finished it off was Hugo Geneste, who was outstanding right through the day, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I think Hakimi in Malaysia at the back had kept the team really well together. But for me, Hugo Geneste just drove the team today. I think he just put so much energy in, and when they needed to keep their patience or get stick on the ball, he was in and around. And I thought absolutely outstanding performance. And for him then to finish it off in the shootout, I think is just so right.
And they showed resolve yesterday when coming back against Belgium. They also showed resolve in the shootout. They missed their first chance. And they've done it again. Just a quick recap of what happened in the shootout. Peter van Straten was denied. And following that, Fez was the one who converted. So Malaysia fell forward in that shootout. They were 1-0 ahead at one stage. But then a series of goals which were scored. Martin Brissac scoring. Victor Lockwood the only one to miss out. Baumgarten got a goal. And eventually it was finished off by Geneste. And spare a thought for Malaysia. They've been admirable opponents right through this Hero Hockey Junior World Cup. And how heartbreaking it will be for them to bow out at this stage without having lost a single match. Just tells you how cruel the sport can be, but fair game to France. They have been outstanding with their spirit and they have been rewarded for their courage and tenacity yet again on successive nights, first in the quarterfinal and then in the semi-final. And this has been a terrific performance from the French. Just to reiterate, they'll face the winner of the match between Germany and Netherlands, which will be played later on. But let's go down to the post-match ceremony with Charlie Broom.
Thanks, Divine. Welcome to the Hero Man of the Match presentation. What a semi-final we have had here. And I'm delighted to say that joining me pitchside to make the presentation is Princess Elena, Her Highness Aslan Shah, who will give the Hero Player of the Match trophy to the number 7 from France, Hugo Geneste. Princess Elena, if you would do the honours, please. And Hugo also picks up a cheque for 12,000 rupees. And while he receives that, I'm going to come round at Hugo. I know it's very difficult, very emotional, but try and explain to me how you're feeling right now.
It's amazing. We realized at the end of the match. It's I don't have the word.
Now, in February, you were here with the senior team. You made the final. You make another final hit. You like this place?
Yes, but this year it's bigger.
So you were quarter-finalists at the European Junior Hockey, and now you are finalists at the World Cup. That's amazing for French hockey.
Yes, it's the first time, I think, for the French hockey. So we are very happy, and I hope we will win the final.
Well, listen, many, many congratulations. Well done to everybody in the team, and we look forward to seeing you on Sunday night.
Thank you.
This was the memorable moments for the French. Well, it has just set the pace for what has been a fascinating day already. Belgium beating Korea 6-1 in the 8th place classification match. France winning this one thanks to the victory 3-1 in penalty shootout. Up next is Australia versus New Zealand in just a short while from now. Make sure you join us for that particular match. For the moment, it's French celebrations at the National Stadium.